Would everyone please stand up? Good job. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This session of the Lincoln County Commission on April the 7th, 2011 at 6 p.m. is now called to order. Members present is Donald C. Whitten, Clerk, Charles McCann, President, Charles Vance, Commissioner, Thomas Ramey, Commissioner, and Jackie Stevens, Prosecuting Attorney. First thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session of the Lincoln County Commission meeting that was held on March 17, 2011 at 10 a.m. with the exception of the following two motions. To approve an audit adjustment in the amount of $3,972.18 for insufficient checks for the fiscal years of 2008 through 2010. To approve Sheriff Jerry Bowman to use the courthouse on April the 30th, 2011 as a drop-off for the program Taking Back Lincoln County One Bill at a Time.
So moved.
I'll second.
Been motion and second. All yes. Motion carries.
Okay, question. Why are we doing this?
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
I had requested that those two items be pulled off of the agenda because at the last meeting there was question in regards to whether the items were properly noted in the agenda, and I felt it was appropriate for us to, since they were not time sensitive, to pull those off, have them placed on this agenda, and approve them at this time. Somewhat confused about where to move forward from this point. I think we need to make sure we look at Robert's Rules of Order and the open governmental meeting law to make sure that any time that we approve items in this court that we do so making sure they've been properly noticed to the public. I think that in the past we have had items that have been motioned and seconded that were not on the agenda. I know I've done that. Commissioner Vance has done that. So I just think from this point on, to show the public that we're serious about operating in the light of being transparent, that this was necessary.
Well, I applaud Commissioner Ramey on doing this because I felt all along it probably should have been done this way. I think the people we would check with on these things would be the Ethics Commission, and they have a committee that's on open business laws that you could always consult and things like that. But I do appreciate the Commission doing this.
And I would note further that before asking for this to happen, I did notify and contact other commissioners and even delegates and senators to ask exactly how it is they approach issues when they're not on the agenda. Many counties follow the same thing that we've done. They, if it's not a controversial issue, they do go ahead, they approve the matter. Actually, some of the senators and delegates have told me that in their committee meetings, which they also operate under the Sunshine Law from the best of their knowledge, and also Robert's Rules of Order, that when they call for a committee meeting, they go through the agenda, then they still, if there's time left, the chairperson for whichever committee usually brings in other items that's not on the agenda. So the delegates and senators I talked to were confused and concerned that if someone would challenge some of the things they vote on, that they would have the same problems that we could have had they been challenged.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I think we had a call for a vote, but I didn't get it recorded. Did we get a vote on that? All yes vote?
Next item on the agenda was the two motions in question, and I would make a motion to approve an audit adjustment in the amount of $3,972.18 for insufficient checks for the fiscal year of 2008 through 2010. So I offer that motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second being all yes, motion carries.
Okay, the next motion would be to approve Sheriff Jerry Bowman to use the courthouse, McCorkle Community Center, and the Hearts Veterans and Community Center on April the 30th, 2011, as a drop-off for the program Taking Back Lincoln County One Pill at a Time.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second, all yes, motion carries. Thank you all.
Next thing on the agenda is Frederick and Rita Creech.
Welcome, guys. You come up here to stay, or you can sit there, whatever.
What we need is maybe like a right-of-way. An old right-of-way that hasn't been used for 30-plus years. And it's basically just our driveway has been for all, we've lived in this place since 1989. And I'd like to build a small garage on it, but I don't want to do it, you know, and then have my garage stored out any later because somebody, here's the pictures. This is my driveway now. And this is actually a right-of-way, it's called a driveway. You can see this map. I'll show you where it goes. It comes right up through here. And my house is right here. And it goes, this is my neighbor's lot, but the driveway, you can see right here is our driveway. It comes down through here and up. And it basically ends right here anyway.
But there is a, all the way around.
Well, not anymore. There has been years ago, I'll show you what happened to it. Right here is where it ends now. Right behind this old building that was on the property when we got it. And here's what it turns into after that. Walter Lovejoy used to live there, of course he's passed away, and he was a well driller, and he drove past that used to be the right way. He drove well casings down in the ground. I don't know how many years ago. And then people's sewer systems are going over in there too. So I don't think any neighbors would have, I know they wouldn't have any problems with it. I've already talked all that. But we're not wanting the whole right of way, just the spot right in front of the house. You know, just if you condemn the right of way, I could build a little building there, I assume. That's really all we need. It's not ever going to be used. I don't know how, it could, without a major investment, getting all those pipes out of the ground and everything. Here's some more old pipes that all these big seeds. And I've been taking care of the other side of the road, really had the better access if we ever did want to open it up anyway. I can picture of that.
Was that county right away?
It's part of a subdivision, I believe. Is that
It
what it is?
used to be, yes. It goes up into Lincoln Heights. It used to be the old right of way, I think. I'm not sure if I haven't lived there long. It used
Well,
to
that's
go
what,
into Lincoln
just
Heights.
look at the map, that's what it appears to me.
Well, there's another one on the other side of the road, though. On the other side of this, there's a road there. And it's really in better shape than that would be if they ever wanted to open it. I mean, you know, that would be a better access for them.
And just, if we would show us again exactly where you want to request.
Just right to here, at the end of this property. This is my neighbor's property. This is Barbara Hess's property.
And how does she access that?
Oh, they all come in on the other side. They come up, there's another right of way comes up through here. Their driveway goes right top of that hill, goes right around here. I'm lot 44 and this. Whatever lots, there's 3 lots here, 4 counting this one.
Well, the way I understand the process is you certainly have the right to request that, and the commission can decide to have a public hearing for consideration, see if,
Anybody object?
yeah,
Okay.
and that kind of thing, and then we would decide if that was the proper thing to do. I'm not positive, but we do, that's the way I understand the process, but we will get with Jackie and work through it and our prosecutor and see. But if the commission decides to take step one, would be to make sure that we understand what your request is.
Yeah,
and grant
it's kind of
that.
hard to explain, really. I mean,
Well, somebody'd have to come out and make a
And look,
visit and look
right.
at it and have somebody there to show us what's going on. But,
okay.
is it the pleasure of the commission to give consideration to the request?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and motion to do that.
We'll have to set a public hearing before we can give him that.
Yeah, that's what
That's
we
what
need
we're
to set a
doing.
public hearing up. I'll motion we set up.
And then you just let me know.
We're gonna consult with the prosecutor too, but
And-
we'll let you know.
We have to put a notice in the paper, you know.
I'll need a list of all of the neighbors adjacent to your property.
Okay. You need it, and I can give you the ones now. I
Do you
know,
have their addresses?
I don't know
Any
exact.
names and
Okay.
addresses?
We'll just get them and call back.
Okay. Just call back and, where do I call? Just the courthouse and county commissioner's office?
County Commission.
Leave that?
Ask for Judy.
Okay.
Can we have that to copy, or is that it?
That's a copy, but I don't have another one, but you can keep it.
Well, we just need something to,
Okay. You want to keep these pictures too? I mean, that's what we took them for, just to show you.
You could bring them back to the hearing.
Okay.
when we have the hearing, you'll need.
Okay.
All right.
Is it the hearing that we do?
No, that's just what.
You'll need a good definition of what it's talking about.
Right, and it'd really be better if somebody come out and look at it. You can see that it could never, I mean, barring major investment, it could never be open. So, you need our phone number so you can call me when you get ready to do it, or?
You call me with the names of your
Neighbors
neighbors
stuff,
and
and then you
addresses,
do
and then
Okay.
if we have the date for a hearing, I'll give it to you at that time.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, your name is Jeannie?
Judy.
Judy, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Next thing on the agenda is,
I'm sorry. There was a motion, a second. Is that an all yes vote? Motion carried. I'm making notes. Didn't get there.
next thing on the agenda is Mike Moskowitz.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Commissioner, for letting me talk today. Most of I'm here regarding water projects and so on and so forth. Tonight, I need to talk to you about lumpy water. It is the intention of the Lincoln PSD to obtain sewer rights to the Allen Creek area. We are a public service district, but there's two parts. There is a sewer part and a water part. At this point, the Public Service Commission does not have anyone for that area. We are very interested in getting sewer, as you folks are, in the Allen Creek area. In order to do that, we have to go through a procedure. We have to let the County Commission know of our intentions, which is what I'm doing this evening. Open discussion, see if there's any problems, so on and so forth. Then in 2 weeks, or approximately 2 weeks, or next meeting, I will bring to you a formal request with the meets and bounds, the maps, our intentions, so on and so forth. It's a big undertaking, but we have to have the support of the County Commission in order to do this. We will need to do it in Lincoln County, and we need to do it in Kanawha County because we serve folks in both counties. I also want to assure the County Commission that this will not hinder our water projects. It does not hinder the fact that we want all of Lincoln County to have water. There's separate money, separate grants, separate everything for sewer systems. It's just something that we desperately need. We've talked to Kanawha County. They are very interested as well. I would like to talk to the Quarter G folks because to my understanding, actually now we can go on Quarter G and put water and sewer. And if we can do that, and if we can get the permission to do that, it will open up Lincoln County unbelievably. Geographically, Lincoln County is tough to put anything in. But with the quarter access, it would be amazing what we could do in a short period of time. At this time, I am letting the County Commission know of our intentions.
And what you're saying is that the formal announcement that you'll come back with something for an adoption of an order at a later date.
That's correct.
We applaud you for the efforts of the PSD stepping forward, and it's a great service. It's also an economic development tool also that Lincoln County can add to, because with that corridor, we all know that there's going to be growth. It's just a matter of having the infrastructure correct. It's certainly another headache to add on to the manager's role, but we appreciate you guys stepping up and getting involved.
But I think it's important what you said about these different monies you're going after, other than these people getting potable water too. We can also get after that money for the sewer system.
Different pockets all again. I do want to thank the 911 center. On another note, we had power outages over in Allen Creek, had a terrible storm. I don't know if anyone recalls a year ago in December, the snowstorm. My doctor said I didn't have to talk about that anymore, but I'd like to bring it up. We were without water for 3 or 4 days. It was terrible. We called 911 center. They sent us a generator over for a small booster station. We rented a generator, which there's none in the area, 200 kW. We got everything online with the Route 3 being in. We backflowed Route 3 into the bottom of Samarico and towards Route 3. We survived. No one lost any water, no pressure, no boil water, nothing. So I'm very proud of the Route 3 project and very proud of 911 and all the folks that helped us out.
And one of the first things I did when I heard about y'all, I talked to Al and I said, are you working with me? Oh, we've already got the problem solved. Because I remember the last time too.
Within just a matter of a couple hours, we had, I mean, they had sitting there at our location, and we were more proactive. And I think this commission said before, you know, things happen, but as long as you learn from it, and trust me, I have learned.
You know, Mike, I have to say to you and then one of your members in the audience, Gary McAllister, to serve on a PSD and to have the vision not only to work on water projects like you are for the Alcohol Mud River, Route 3 you're just working on finishing up, to be able to extend the public sewer for the which business relocates to that area will provide a better tax base for us to be able to extend water. And I just applaud you for the vision you have and for making this hopefully become a reality in the near future.
I want to be like Rick when I grow up.
Now, Rick is the expert on that.
That's right. I'm going to be in contact with him.
We are ready to hand that over to you, to the PSD.
I'll get back. But I want to thank the commission for everything that they've done. The monies, the nest egg that they have given us that's allowed us to start these projects. And the old adage, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Thank you, Mike.
The next thing on the agenda is Women's Club of Hamlin. I don't see anyone in the audience, but they have given us a letter. They gave us a letter last year, and they brought us another one. And it talks about that they're a nonprofit organization. They're trying to replace the dilapidated playground equipment located at the Hamlin Lions Club field. The estimated cost is $35,000. They've raised $4,820. They have a $5,000 grant from the Governor's Community Participation Grant, putting their total at $9,820. They're asking the Lincoln County Commission to consider contributing to this much-needed improvement.
Okay, I really hadn't got a chance to talk to them. I did get the letter, just haven't had a chance. What I'd like to do, maybe just meet with some of them and talk about what they have in mind, and what the details are, and then see what we can do to try to help them some way. Not to pull them out, but some way. Is that agreeable?
Next thing on the agenda is Rick McDowell.
Welcome, Rick. We're not gonna,
Take care of him, please.
we don't want anybody to talk about it.
I want to give you some updates on the water, the green and wastewater project, and then, put my back toward this man. And then talk about a couple other things. Your packet there has sort of a summary of some of the things we've been doing. We've both been trying to close out phase 2 and begin phase 3. We actually had the final inspection at the end of March on phase 2 on those 20 systems. It looks like the DEP is pretty well signed off on that. I think we're going to get one more piece of paper from them, and that'll close that project down. we will have the contract signing with Wiseman. The people who got the bid on phase 3 on April 19th, and we will start putting in systems on the 28th and 29th. And that'll be with oversight from Board Nimona, which is the company that's doing the technology. So they will actually be on site to make sure the first installations are done correctly. And we're especially, we had all sorts of trouble with our friends in Morgantown and the system that Kevin had at his house, that still has not worked correctly. That's made us even more thankful that the folks at Board Nimona have been as helpful as they are. I mean, they keep coming back to Lincoln County, doing training. They haven't charged us anything for that, and they've also replaced some systems that were problems, and they didn't charge us for that either. So hopefully we can continue working with them on those things. The next thing you've got is we did a tributary E. coli analysis on the 21st of March. If you look through there, we had some high readings where the goal is to have readings that are under 200 colonies of E. coli per 100 milliliters. If you look down to number 53, that's the one on Bar Camp, and that's the place where we've got we now have 8 systems installed above that location, and you'll see that pretty consistently, we had a couple high readings, but pretty consistently all the readings have been low there, which is real good. Another thing that I was surprised to see, I don't know if it's a fluke or not, but if you go down to Dogbone, which is number 9, the March reading was 400. That's the lowest I think we've ever had on Dogbone. Dogbone's always been over the acceptable limit, but it dropped from 5,500 to 400 the last time. It could just be a fluke, but we have more and more homes on Dogbone that we've installed systems in, and the third phase we're going to have, I think, 5 homes on Dogbone. So hopefully we'll see some changes there. And the very last one there, number 55, which has been high almost all the time. It was a 40,000 count reading. That's a place at the beginning of Left Fork where we've got an old aerator, where we have 3 homes on this one aerator. I don't know when the last time was the aerator worked. So for all intents and purposes, those homes are discharging directly into the creek, and all 3 of those homes are going to be fixed. So we should see some real good results there, and it'll be nice to have these pre-installation results to compare with the post-installation results. The next thing we've got is our first pay requisition for phase 3 for $36,000. That's already gone into the DEP. This phase 3 project is $726,000. We haven't gotten the money yet. I think we won't get the money until the commission takes care of the stuff on the next pages here. And what this is a motion that the DEP would like to have the commission adopt. And what it will do is it says that the commission agrees to move forward with this phase 3, that they agree to the financing, and the financing is, even though they call it a loan project, it's a forgiven loan, so the commission never has to pay anything back. The total amount is that's $726,000. The Boone County Bank is who we're working on. I think that's it. Should I read through the whole motion? How would you like me to do that? Thanks.
It might be best to read it really as a
Okay. Okay, the following motion is what's being presented, that the President of the County Commission of Lincoln County is hereby authorized to execute and deliver the ARRA Assistance Agreement between the County Commission, the West Virginia Department of Environmental, I should say protection there, we didn't copy this, this came from the DEP, and the West Virginia Water Development Authority dated April 19, 2011, that the project described in such agreement and the construction thereof is hereby approved, that the execution and delivery of the note evidencing the financing set forth in such agreement is hereby approved, that the first drawdown under the Series 2011, a note in the amount of $726,160 is hereby approved, that the Boone County Bank is hereby authorized to serve as the depository bank, and the West Virginia Municipal Bond Commission is hereby authorized to serve as paying agent for the Series 2011 B note, that it is hereby recognized that the principal of the Series 2011 note will be forgiven on a quarterly basis, and that the President, Clerk, and staff of the Lincoln County Commission are hereby authorized to take all actions necessary to complete the closing of the Series 2011 A note and the commencement of the construction of the project by April 19, 2011.
I'll offer a motion on the floor.
I'll say.
Motion and second to accept this agreement. On this motion, all yes, motion carries.
So if you all don't mind, I've got to get 3 copies signed. You don't have to sign that one. But you would sign, and you just sign this, your name on the second page. And just pass them down the line, I guess. And if Donald, pardon? Sure. I'm worried about you now. Okay, thank you all. The other thing I'd like to ask the commission to do, I'd like to request that we change Craig's employment from part-time probationary, Craig Manns, to full-time starting April 18th, 2011, and continuing through March 31st, 2012. Of his full-time employment, 28 hours a week would be funded through the Green Wastewater Project Phase 3, and 9.5 would be funded by the Commission for grant writing. And that's, there's a breakdown included in your packet on that.
I'll offer the motion on the floor.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second, now change employment status. An all yes vote, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to switch horses and move to Camp Lakeview. Probably more. Camp Lakeview is the residence camp that we've been working on the left fork of the Mud River. And we have a camp development authority that meets monthly along with interested citizens. And one of the things that we've talked about for quite a while is to create some kind of a changing building there, so that especially when we have school groups, and we often have school groups coming out at the end of the school year where we do nature awareness, and we partner with WVU Extension and do food nutrition kind of stuff. We really have nowhere for the kids to change. So I've got a proposal here that we create this changing building. It would be a 20 by 24 foot building. It'd have 2 sides, interior, and there would be 4 changing stalls in each. There would also be a place in each one for a composting toilet. It would be designed so in the future we could put solar paneling on it, and hopefully create the electricity we need for lights in there. We would put in skylights now, 2 on each side. The flooring would be recycled composite plastic, and the completion date would be May 24th. Our proposal would be that we would do a contracted service agreement with John Sahlstrom for approximately 120 hours, and that we would also get a helper to help John for 120 hours. and that we anticipate the cost of materials for that would be $8,400. We bid those. That doesn't include the composting toilets or the solar panels. We're trying to get a grant to cover that. So because all the costs for hiring people will be under $5,000, we wanted to do it as a contracted service rather than a bid kind of thing. And the Camp Development Committee currently has enough money to pay for all this.
Really happy to see you moving forward on this.
Well, we wish we were doing some bigger projects, but I guess the thought is every time we do something, it gets people more excited and hopefully we'll get more use out of it.
So do you need any action on our behalf?
I think it would be appropriate since the camp is under the commission's umbrella, the commission would approve
Approving the
this.
improvements that you're suggesting. Okay, well, we've heard the proposal by Mr. McDowell on the project. Do we have a motion to provide approval for that?
So moved.
I'll second.
The motion and second, in all yes, motion carries. We do appreciate it.
Okay, one more thing and then I'll stop. Wanted to give you a little update. The paper's been good enough to cover this. But since the county commission has been working on the health summit and trying to improve health things in Lincoln County. This is a county health rankings. It's part of a national survey that's been done. You can go online to health rankings and look at health in counties throughout the nation. This is the one for Lincoln County. It ranks Lincoln County with the rest of the counties in the state. With these health rankings, we were 50th out of 55. It was interesting that the other counties were all counties who were southern West Virginia County. McDowell, Wyoming, Mingo, Mercer, Logan, and Boone all ranked below us. I mean, I guess it's good not to be the very bottom, but it's still discouraging to be so low. And what the newspaper highlighted was something that I wanted to also highlight was the fact that when it came to teen birth rate, we continue not to be doing very well. The way they measure this is births per 1,000 females ages 15 to 19. The state rate is 46 births per 1,000. Lincoln County's rate is 66 births per 1,000. The national benchmark is 22 births per 1,000. So we're really not doing well. We've improved in a lot of things, but when it comes to teen births, the county just has not moved up to do very much. One of the things that research tells us is that we know that children who are born to teen moms, not always, but often end up in poverty more than their peers. They often drop out of school more than their peers. They're often involved in drug abuse, alcohol, get in trouble with law more than their peers. And we also know that teen mothers drop out of school more than they would normally do. My feeling over the years on working with this is that agencies who are involved with this issue are afraid of controversy, and so they just bury their heads in the sand when it comes to it. And I just feel like it would be good if we found some ways to sort of move this forward. I don't know if, we had a summit on school absences that I think got people together to talk about it. I don't know whether it's time to do a summit on teen pregnancy in the county. Try to bring some agencies together. I don't know, but I just...
Well, it's certainly a topic that needs to be discussed by all the players involved, whether it be schools, churches, families in general. But it certainly needs to be discussed. Who should lead that and who should whatever. But it's certainly one of those issues that, as a county, we need to certainly have some discussion, dialogue on, see if there's something by just doing that of awareness and some of the issues that are associated with the teen pregnancy issues. It seems to me like we owe it to people to at least offer something when it's brought to us and says, look at this, here's the facts. This is not good enough.
It seems like many times we lose our kids before they get even old enough to be able to reason with them. And some of these numbers, like the high school graduation, the rate is 55%, where the state's 78% and the national average is 22%. Then you tie that in with the number of children in poverty in this county at 34%, but the national mark is 11%. And I just wish there was some way that we could moderate some type of event to get a dialogue started about being there to help our kids and our young people, and see to it that they have some avenue of help when they get to those points of no return.
Do you think we should focus on the whole thing, or just focus on the teen pregnancy issue?
Well, I think it should be a decision by some group, school system and EHHR, and yourself, and people like that, should probably sit down and just talk about this information and say, what should we do about it, or should we do something about it, or can we do something about it? Rather than trying to decide, I think it should be a decision of others, probably, all involved.
I know, having dealt with this for 30 years now in the county, from the end that I do, that I think the discussion needs to be had. I think it needs to be separate from family planning. I think, I mean, and the reason I say that is because that's so divided of an issue with our people in the community and things. And I think we need to look at things like low self-esteem, you know, the poor socioeconomic things that these kids are going through at the time. And I think that there's a tendency to focus on family planning only and not address the other issues as far as peer pressures and things of that nature. And that's where your educational system has to be really involved with this, because they see it day to day. Whereas I see them when they come in to get a pregnancy test, or when they're on family planning or something like that. And that's too late. You know, we need educated people discussing these things with these kids so they know. And I think a lot of, like I said, I think it's just, you know, we come from an area where women have been getting pregnant young for ever since this people was populated here. So and it just so happens that in other parts of the country, I think they have more. They have a little bit more, so it makes it a little bit easier for those people to say this is not socially acceptable, or this is, the peer pressure is a little easier to put on and things of that nature. Whereas if you look at the numbers there, it's not. It's maybe peer pressure the other way, you know. And we've looked at that back several years ago. So, you know, these things need to be discussed. These kids, as Thomas said, you know, they're becoming adults a lot sooner than they need to be, and a lot sooner than they can be. And until we make sure they don't become adults too soon, they're going to continue to make mistakes, as we do make as adults. But we all remember when we were that age and how hard it was dealing with that subject, and especially around here, because at the time we grew up, it was kind of taboo to talk about it and things like that. But these issues have to be addressed. I think the place that need to be addressed is in the school and working with the families and things of that nature. And that's what we do. We do on the medical end. You've got to get the family involved, the whole unit involved, and get these girls educated and let them know what they may be limited in their life. Because I don't think they're really, you know, they're not really taught, hey, you can't go get a job, you can't go further to school. If you've got a baby you're trying to take care of, and most of them feel they need to take care of them. If not, it's the other direction where they become children of the state in some way. And with the drug abuse problem we're seeing in the young girls now, it's causing more and more of that. And I think some of these things we're seeing here may be related to drug usage also. So, but it's sad that that's what you see in areas like ours. When they first started having the meth epidemic, it occurred in the Native American reservations, like in Montana and places like that, and it completely destroyed those communities. And that's what it's doing to ours. So, but the discussion has to be had. You can't, as you say, you can't stick your head in the sand where those numbers keep going up, and then we have an increasing burden on society, taking care of these people.
There's no easy fix. I mean, you and I were working on this when I was on the Board of Education. And when you talk about some of these issues, people literally run the other way. So it's going to take a real tough approach to be able to tackle these. I think it's going to take changing mindsets at the school board level.
Maybe we've got a group that's come together for the health summit. Maybe we could use that as the base and try to pull some other people in. As you suggested, Charles, look at this whole report.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just has to be something we approach with an open mind ourselves, how we might be helpful. Like Dr. Frank said, it's an old problem, and certainly it's been vividly showing that we need to do something about it. It's just so sad to know that those, I still think of them as kids, you know, really losing almost their late childhood. I mean, it's a sad commentary. So if there's anything we can do as a commission, I think we should do it. And I don't know, I know you wear so many hats where you are saying, you know, you're willing to try to help pull something together. And
Let me talk with the folks at the health department, Dr. Smith, and see if we can sort of use that group as a starting point.
You get school counselors.
Yeah. Well, I may come back to you for some advice.
all right, appreciate you bringing it up.
Craig, do you have anything to report?
Welcome, Craig.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of things to update you on with hazard mitigation. Waiting on Brian to get back with the survey. The question that you had last time, Mr. President, that they will pay for the surveying of that property with the applications that we have. And the Trailways grant that we have going and the participation, we've moved, actually the public comment period will end next week. We've had meetings in all 4 of the counties, and we've gotten very positive feedback for it. So the next step in that is we will apply to the Department of Highways for that designation. And one thing that President McGann mentioned, and I agree with this, is that Lincoln County, we should lead by example in cleaning up our river and our recreational places. So once we get that designation, I would like to get a group together and start leading that example and getting our river cleaned up and ready for this trail system.
And I think we have enough interested people in different parts of along the river that we'd like to see something done. Just be a matter of trying to assist and get some leadership out there and make it happen. But it's definitely can happen. We will stay focused on it. Absolutely. We need to just work with you guys as you able to get things done. Just keep us involved and we'll help however we can.
Craig, I received a call from, I think it's a circuit clerk in Wyoming County. I'm not real sure which county it was with, that you are supposed to have a river float on the April the 23rd. They changed it to April the 22nd. They were going to try to come all the way down to,
It's actually a challenge, but I also accept it's all be floating down the river.
Well, good for you.
So why don't you guys take some bags, we can pick up some water.
All right.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is Lincoln County Volunteer Fire Departments concerning the towers and radios. This was a follow-up meeting that we had from the meeting that we had with the fire departments last month. And we were going to meet back with them to update concerning what we were at on the microwaves and updating the radios.
I don't have anything to do from what Alan provided us. As far as I know, it's on order, but I don't have anything else.
I know he's been doing some work because I've been getting bills and the commission's paying for them.
I'm assuming when he gets it done, I'm sure when he gets it all put together and done, he'll come back and let us know. I haven't had anything.
Next thing on the agenda is an update on the Hearts Veteran and the Community Center and the Corporal Community Center.
Ms. Sharp, you was gonna start with the floor for me.
My helper's gonna help me do that. I hear we had our first public meeting on April 1st, and that was good, April 1st. But it was a good meeting. It lasted about an hour and a half to 2 hours. We had a good crowd, had about 20 people over there. Got a lot of input from some of the people in the audience. And all in all, it went pretty well. I think we've got a lot of our kinks worked out. The other thing I noticed on this, we have that drug take back on April the 30th, and I know y'all have it over here at the courthouse in Sherry. I'm sure they got enough deputies to go around.
And we're gonna try to do 3 locations.
Our next, of course, we're working on the auction and all these other things that are coming up this month. You have a schedule there of things we've got coming up. Hopefully all this will really take off and be good for us. Our next public meeting is on Friday, May the 6th at 6 o'clock, and everybody's welcome.
Okay, we appreciate the work that you guys are doing. It's definitely starting to move and come along. We'll just have to continue to work together to try to keep things working, because anytime you're involved in as many people as you all have there with the Crime Watch and with the outreach and then with the community center itself, in such a small building,
Right.
it is will be effort on all of us to cooperate and work together to make this thing work.
Well, this last meeting, things went a lot smoother than what they had the last 4 months. Of course, we really were beating our head against the wall the last 4 months. Sometimes we had 3 and 4 meetings a month to try to get everything squared away, but it looks like now we have one meeting on the 15th with Sharon and Leanne, but that's just a little thing for the volunteers thing. But
And we're short a member, is that correct?
yes, we're short a member, and hopefully if we get a new member, that'll take some of the slack off of that.
And I have a note here that basically at the meeting the last time, I was looking, trying to find it on the note, but I couldn't find it. That you did come up with some names of people.
Yes, we did.
And I have Judy Allen is the one that starred, and I guess that's the one I would like to offer, if
Okay.
we could at this time, for the commission to consider appointing Judy Allen to the McCormick Board.
She was over there when we had that gospel sing, and she came in and she basically, with the audience out there, she basically took charge of everything. She seems to be a very nice lady, and she seemed to fit in, really well. She just came in and started doing things, so she seems really nice, and so I think she'll work out pretty well there, and I understand she's over there a lot.
I'll second the
We got a
motion.
motion second to appoint Judy Allen to the McCormick Board. Being all yes vote, motion carried. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thomas, do you have anything to offer on the Heart Voter Community Center?
No, I stopped at Hearts on Wednesday just to see how things were going with Government Day, and people were coming in, paying their taxes and buying licenses, still running smoothly. And I was at McCormick a week and a half ago and talked to Scott Polly, the board president, and real happy to see the progress that's been made at that center as well.
And I should know, but I don't, but did they get a deputy out at the Pearlsburg Arts Center yet?
Yes. There is a deputy there in the trailer now. We had a little bit of damage on the building. We're in the process of getting that fixed. Took road roofing up there today. Some of the metal has came off.
Due to the wind.
Due to the wind. But it's doing good.
All right.
Next thing on the agenda is Miss Christy Scraggs.
Christie, welcome.
Thank you. My notes. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to do a little bit of election updates, different things that's been going on. I did attend the West Virginia election seminar at the end of March. In that training, we went over the 2011, 2012 elections. Some machine training, election day and night, the best practices, poll workers. They discussed some legislative updates. We done a canvass and recount training. There was a redistricting training. They have pilot project updates going on, some HOV information, equipment testing, absentee and early voting procedures, and the SVRS NCOA training. These classes, they really help since I'm new with this election process. Thomas Ramey and Judy Johnson and I, we met with Dave Tackett and Dave Nichols, and they're working with me with the process of doing our purging, canceling, moving people to inactive. In the last 2 weeks, since I came back from the training, we have...
Just
go
a
ahead.
public note, Dave Tackett and Dave Nichols are both with the Secretary of State's office.
Oh, yeah, sorry. They're two guys. Dave Tackett runs like the SVRS system for all the counties in the state, so that's the main one I've been on the phone with. But since I came back, we have purged 3,127 people in 2 weeks. Completely purged Precinct 1. Precinct 1 was for the town, and there's no longer Precinct 1, so that I did get rid of 568 there, so they got removed. Another thing is we have 6 registered voters that are with the Mountain Party, and I've sent all them notices letting them know that in the primary special election that's coming up, that there's no one for them to vote for, so they wanted us to send out letters to let them know they can vote in the general. So we have 6 of those, so those letters have went out. Another thing is I've been working in the filing cabinets. I've gone from A through H with the last names. Pulled up a list of anyone that maybe they didn't get their signature that would go into the poll book for them to sign off. Out of that, I did scan 107 signatures. I corrected 25 signatures with people that, I'll use myself as an example. I was a Smith, and then when I married to a Scraggs, maybe that signature still read Smith. So 25 of those was scanned in. And 7 voters did get canceled because they were registered twice. And a lot of times that happens when someone sends in a voter's registration. They might not put that they were already registered under their maiden name, and then the system shows there's no one by that name, and so then that creates a new voter. So there was 7 of those that I found, and this is just letters A through H so far. I know there's been discussion of removing someone. When someone passes away, you have to cancel them. But they have to stay canceled for 3 years before you can purge them. And a lot of people, doesn't understand that. They want to know why they're not purged, and that's just something that the state has. If someone moves, different things like that, they have to be canceled for 3 years before you can do anything. So I did purge. The number that I had there was from all the way up till March of 2008.
So what does that mean? You cancel them, you put them in an inactive file, or you put them?
Yeah, well, yeah.
What if they show back up and say, I've got my registration card, I want to vote?
Then, once they vote, they're back active again. Yeah, we have to actually put them back active. When we scan the poll books and stuff, that's something I got to really watch. Each person that voted, I've got to watch and make sure on my list that they weren't an inactive person. And if they were inactive, then I have to go back into the system. Just scanning that will not do it. You have to go back in, then move them back to active. When they're moved to inactive, they stay there for 2 years before they're canceled. Then once they're canceled, you have to wait 3 years before you can purge them. So it's a long process. It's not something that's, you can just jump in there
Well,
and do.
there's a good side of that, because, you don't want to disenfranchise anyone their right to vote. So you can't just go in and say, well, I know they died, and we're going to take their name off. Well, that's a protection. I see the advantage, certainly the advantage of the process, although it is cumbersome, but it is good.
Right. Another question I had asked the Secretary of State's office is how I get a report on if someone hasn't voted the last 2 general elections. There is no way of getting a report. You have to go person by person. Every person in your county, you start with the A's, and you have to check. So that's going to take a while. It's not something I can just do overnight. They thought that we'd be able to do, all the counties would be able to do a lot this year, but then now there's an election again, so now we're preparing for that. So this is something, you know, that's going to take a while, and I just asked everybody to hang in there with me, and we'll get it, you know, but it's going to take a while because I'll have to move all of them to inactive, and then he says I should never do anything without first sending a notice. And just Dave Nichols. Yeah, everything I've been doing, he's been right there, you know, explaining it all, and Dave
So I was going
Tackett.
to say, while at this training, one of the, I think it was Dave Nichols, with the Secretary of State's office, approached me and told me that, you know, you really need to, you being the county, take serious the number of voters you have and get serious about purging. And I said, so tell me some numbers, because I'm not in the county clerk's office. So he started telling me how many voters we had registered, how many people are on the inactive list, and giving me the information. So I waved Christy and Judy over, so we sat down and we talked to him and told him that, you know, this needs to happen because it sheds a negative light on Lincoln County, and we wanted to make sure Lincoln County, the public perception shows that we are doing everything it takes to keep the books up to date. But through that process, obviously, we haven't been trained to the point of where we feel comfortable. And we asked them to lead us through that process, not to just tell us and let us come back and just forget about it. So he said, well, if you want, you can come here to the Secretary of State's office and you can work with me from here, or I'll come there. I said, no, we want you to come to Lincoln County. I want you to bring your staff to Lincoln County, the staff in the county clerk's office, and I'm sure the county clerk Witten will agree, they're to your disposal. All the records, they're to your disposal, and work with us so that we can get these books clean and something that we can be proud of. And I know that as you went through this process, you've stayed in constant contact with them, and they're very pleased with the progress that's been made. And I applaud you, Christy. I was going to wait to the end, but I just think it's...
Thank you. It's been tiring, but we'll get there. Yeah, after this election in May, then, you know, they'll be coming down here and working more. You know, they're busy right now, and then, you know, we're busy also programming machines, getting them ready for the election, getting our poll workers in place, all that. So he said as soon as that's over, he'll be down here and help me, you know, go through all of it. So after this primary election, then I'll start going in there, starting with the A's, and checking and seeing when everyone voted, and then start sending the notices out. That way, if I go in there and enter someone, there's a memo, and you put everything that you know, if you do anything. That way then I can note, he said, you know, I sent this letter out, there was no response, things like that. That way then we can move them to the inactive status. And I know...
Christy, before you get started, I know you mentioned the purging, how many you purged. Could you tell the audience how many people were on inactive that's now on inactive compared to when you started?
There was 17, and now there's 137. So we've made good progress. The state's happy. They called and said, man, said you must be tired. I was like, yep. So, and we'll get there. You know, it just takes a while. A lot of people think it's just easy. They'll call up and say, you need to remove them. Well, you can't just do that. You can't just remove them. That's another thing I want to talk about. I know people look at the poll books, like poll workers, for an example, you know, when they're sitting there, look at names, the voters registration list that we have like in our office of everyone. Just because someone's on there, and then they're saying they moved, things like that, they're still going to show up. But we may already have them inactive, but they're going to show up on that list. That list shows active and inactive.
Because if you are inactive, this is the way I understood, if you have not voted and you're moved to the list inactive right before you're removed completely, if you show up while inactive, you still have the legal ability to vote.
Yes.
And if you're not on the books and you show up to vote, how would you be able to participate?
Right. Yeah. And then once they do that, then we'll move them back to the active status and go from there. So So it's very time consuming, and it'll just take a while. It'll just take a little while to work on those. Okay, another issue that I want to talk about, as the designated election official for the officer for the county, is how many magisterial districts exist in our county. I know that's an issue, and I sort of want to go over that a little bit. In 1983, the magisterial and general voting precinct maps were updated, and they were approved by the Lincoln County Commission at that time, reducing our districts from 8 to 6. In my office, in the elections office, we do have a copy of that map. But instead of having a copy hanging in my office, I asked the county clerk, Whitten, if I could hang the original. He was concerned because the original was beginning to deteriorate since it was older, so we decided to have the original framed. Craig, can you help me?
Sure.
This is the original map, and we did have it framed. And that shows the 6 districts in it. Beginning tomorrow morning, anyone who would like to see the map, you can come by my office to view it. But I want to make it clear that a copy of this map has always been hanging in the elections office. But we actually got the original now, and it's framed. So I want to thank you guys for...
So this was drawn up in 1983?
Yeah.
Was the motion to accept these changes done in 1983 or was it 1986? I think it was 1986. So basically, this is what they proposed at that time in 1983. And the commission did not act on it until, if I'm not mistaken now, that's what I understand, until 1986. I mean, yeah, until 1986. But this was the map of people that we hired, or the commission hired to decide on how to make the changes.
Yeah.
Was drawn then, so this was the map that they said, this is what we suggested the commission should have done.
Oh, yeah, it was prepared in April of '82, then revised December of '83.
Right, and then I think the commission waited to 1986 to act on it. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's it.
That's what the record shows.
Back to a little bit of the training I attended. There's a lady, Jo Vaughn. She's the redistricting analyst with the Legislative Automated Systems Division. She held a session on the BAS mapping. We asked what we needed to do to update the Lincoln County magisterial map into that BAS system. She referred us to Martin Burns, which I have contacted and waiting on a phone call back to see exactly what we need to do to get it into that system. When changes are made to the magisterial district and incorporated areas and so on, there's 2 things that she said had to happen. The first is the maps are to be sent to the BAS system for the updating. The second thing is the legal description of changes must be sent to the state to be recorded. Unfortunately, the county map wasn't updated with the BAS system, but the legal description was updated at the state level. So you had those 2 things that had to do. One of them was done, one of them wasn't. The state sends out what they call the Blue Book. I just want to go over this for a minute. They send these out. I'm not sure if it's like every couple of years, the West Virginia Blue Book. Is it every year? Okay. In 1982, the West Virginia Blue Book, this one is the 1982, and it's the 66th volume of an annual document that through tradition and application has come to be regarded as an almanac on West Virginia. And it says our aim is and has been to continue and enhance this legacy by providing the most accurate information. In this one, the 1982, if you turn back to Lincoln County, it'll tell you a little bit about it. How many voting precincts, there was like 28 at the time. How how many square miles, your population, different things like that, county officials. In there, in the magisterial district, it shows that there is 8, and that was in 1982. And it does show that there was 8 of those. But then when I pulled the books, 1987, when you pull up Lincoln County, it says the same, like all the stuff again, but it says that there are 6 magisterial districts. So that lets us know that that legal description, everything did get sent to the state, because that's what they have in their book. And same thing, 2005, if you'll turn to Lincoln County, it reads the same thing, that there's 6 magisterial districts. One of the things that I did pull up is voters. I think when you do the magisterial districts, you try to get each one of them sort of even, the numbers of voters and different things. When I pulled up Sheridan, Sheridan has 3,924 registered voters. Washington, 3,308. If you would pull up just the Jefferson district, it's only 786. So I'd say that's one of the reasons why it was moved to the 6 districts, because, you know, that's a big number from 3,000 or
Was
something.
that the numbers in early 1980, or is that the numbers now?
Well, now,
Okay.
I don't know what it was in 80. So that, I mean, I guess that's one of the reasons.
Well, the idea is to make sure that districts are sort of equal and people have, you know, right to vote and the time period of permitting enough time for people to get in to vote and those kinds of things.
But, you know, like I said, I spoke with her and stuff, so now I'm just waiting to meet with Martin Burns, and then we'll be able to get that recorded too, so then it all would be done.
Did she have any answers to why she responded to all those people who questioned how many districts there were before, why she kept saying there were 8?
I didn't go into all that. I was too busy, like, you know what I mean, trying to figure all of it out, all that training in 2 days. So,
You know, I think she was one of the focal points that, you know, people that was giving out that information, you know, that there were 8 districts instead of 6, and she even certified it on things that there were 8. So I just wonder, you know, if she didn't read the book or something, you know.
yeah.
My guess would be, and I was there when you were talking to her, that the mapping that she had access to was the Bass map, and she didn't pay attention to the blue book. Her expertise is in mapping, and at that point when she was asked how many magisterial districts, she pulled up the map she had. She thought that would have been the most up to date. Like you said,
Is she the
That's
one that
the-
would send that information to the U.S. Census, or was there somebody else that does that?
Oh, sure. I don't know. I can find out. I
Yeah,
guess.
that'd be good to find out, because they had the same numbers, I think. Marcy, do you want to say something?
I can answer that because I spoke with Ms. Vaughn, and she's a legislative. She works from the legislative side, and that's why, and she works with the census, so that's why. She works strictly with the same map that I had brought here originally.
and she indicated that lots of maps across the state, it's up to the individual counties to update. And a lot of counties don't even know who their Bass person is, the go-to person, because maps are sent when Bass maps are updated to that particular person. She said that she had been in courthouses in this state where there would be maps stacked this high because people received them and just put them in the corner, didn't know what they were, didn't even open them. They
Right,
just-
and the it again goes back to the legislative side because, like Christie said, one step was missed.
Yes.
So that's why you had 2 versions of what was legal and what wasn't.
Yeah, that's what they said. The legal description went to the state, but the mapping wasn't through the Bass
And I
system.
think it was pretty clear that just because the Bass mapping wasn't updated, that it did not make the process illegal. It was just something that needed to be done, that could be done right now.
But it still affects the appropriations and everything. If you look at that, and if you pull anything, there's absolutely, if you look at the federal, what is distributed, no matter if they count the health issues or anything, all of those districts are still in there. So it is a big issue for the county for every aspect, and I don't have any of that with me.
I'm just not sure how magisterial districts would impact the amount of money you get from the federal level. I think that's based on
At the federal
population.
level, your money all comes down from the
Based
federal,
on
from the top,
population.
and that's how it's distributed. And I'm sure as Christie gets into those, she'll see the same reports that I am saying.
I guess,
Because I know some of the larger counties with more population, they only have 3 magisterial districts. So I would not think that magisterial districts would have a bearing on the amount of money received. It's again based on the population.
You talk about apples and oranges. The magisterial district is a completely different creature than the tax districts or the state.
That's right.
And the county itself, so, 2 different issues, really.
but hopefully once, you know, he contacts me and stuff, then we can,
And we, yeah, I'd
Keep that
say your wealth of knowledge, you just keep coming and sharing that with us as you feel comfortable, and Donald requests you to, because it's very enlightening and you've done a lot of work.
I'd like to.
And we need to let the President of the Republican Party or whatever know too, because I know that she wanted to have questions about this also.
yeah, I spoke to her a little bit before the last meeting, but I haven't got to speak with her
Did she come in
after I
though
came back
when
from the
we
training.
talked, or did she come in, she was going to?
She came in and we gave her copies of everything we had, and we gave her copies of the maps. She did view this map here that is on file, and,
I think the minutes from the 1986 meeting revealed the legal description of the 6 districts.
and she was given a copy of all of
Were
it.
they required at that time to have public hearings on that?
I'm not sure, but I do know in some of the meetings, some of the minutes I read, some people had shown up and spoke in favor or against. I'm not sure if that was a public hearing or just a commission meeting. And I just would like to commend our county clerk for hiring Christie, because I feel like we're in good hands, and I think he's done a great job on it.
Both of you be commended.
Thank you.
And I guess Judy and Thomas too, since they went to the meeting too.
Hey, I tell you, I learned a lot. Next thing on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the bills as submitted for payment.
Second.
Motion and second, being all yes, motion carries to pay the bills.
Need a motion to approve the exoneration orders as submitted by Tracy Dempsey.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to give Charles McCann President authorization to sign the fiscal year 2011 acceptance letter for the Mud River Festival for appropriation of $7,600 grant from the West Virginia Division of Culture and History Fairs and Festivals.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the letter of agreement by and between the Town of West Hamlin and Lincoln County Commission for the sole purpose of a water line extension on the Upper Mud River Road from the Big Creek to the next 3 residents.
Before I make the motion, I just would like to commend the mayor of West Hamlin. He is someone that, when they are putting Christmas lights up, he's out there flagging traffic. If they have a water problem, he's out flagging traffic. He's just a real hands-on mayor, and we had a meeting today for the Route 10 Coalition to try to figure out ways to make Route 10 safer and a better route for people to travel. And he showed up. He's a member of that coalition, and I think he's a good man and a good mayor. So moved.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a Governor's Community Participation Grant Program contract by and between the West Virginia Development Office and the Lincoln County Commission for the pavement of the Garrett's Bend Community Center in the amount of $5,000, and give Charles S. McCann President authorization to sign the stated documents.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the agreement by and between the Division of Culture and History for and on behalf of the Records Management and Preservation Board and the Lincoln County Commission for the new shelving in the county clerk's record room in the amount of $3,206, and give Charles S. McCann President authorization to sign the stated documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the Governor's Community Participation Grant Program contract by and between the West Virginia Development Office and the Lincoln County Commission for the Lincoln County Parks and Recreation in the amount of $10,000, and give Charles S. McCann President authorization to sign the stated documents.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to adopt a proclamation proclaiming April 2011 as Fair Housing Month in Lincoln County, and urge every citizen to support and endorse the practice and policy of fair housing in their personal lives as well as in their workday duties.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
I gotta take a drink before I do this. I need a motion to approve the appointments done in vacation on Lincoln County Commission by Donald C. Glidden Clerk as follows. Susan McCoy is administrator of the estate of Ina Gerald Workman. Susan McCoy is administrator of the estate of Freeland Workman. Sandra K. Toppins is administrator of the estate of Michael D. Toppins. Gladys G. Salter as administrator of the estate of Thomas A. Salter. Darlene McAllister as administrator of the estate of Richard W. Bolden. Arlene Tompkins as administrator of the estate of Jasper Abbott. Michael Keynes and Debbie Pritchard, it's supposed to be Skeens, and Debbie Pritchard as co-executors of the estate of Verlena May Skeens. Romeo Johnson as administrator of the estate of Zena May Johnson. Jesse Roger Stacy II as administrator of the estate of Jesse Roger Stacy. Patricia Barrett as executor of the estate of Lawrence Moore Barrett. Roger Vaughn as executor to the estate of Ruth Elizabeth Vaughn. Avenel Cummings as administrator of the estate of Yule Frederick Cummings. Shirley Bell as executor to the estate of Carl Lester Bell. Thomas A. Roy II as administrator of the estate of Thomas Anson Roy Sr.
Second.
Motion and second, being all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to schedule the kids fishing tournament for June the 4th, 2011 at the Upper Mud River Lake.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, being all yes vote, motion carries. We probably need to send a letter to DNR, officially notifying them about this, and prepare ads for the lake.
Sean, will help me with that? I need a motion to approve the Governor's Community Participation Grant Program application for the Harts Volunteer Fire Department in the amount of $2,500 and give Charles S. McCann, President, authorization to sign the stated documents.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to reopen the estate of Martha G. Callentine and appoint Betty L. Hall as executors to transfer the property in accordance with the will.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to appoint Darrell K. Burton as executor of the estate of Silas H. Bagley due to the death of current executors of this estate.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a donation in the amount of $250 to Ralph Daniel Agins to compete nationally in the NRA sanctioned 3-position air rifle championship tour.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
Okay, do you want to talk about this, Doug? One reason we're rescheduling that?
Probably wouldn't hurt. We had, of course, recessed our levy meeting back earlier, budget meeting, to the April 19th to lay the levy. And then we were planning on having 2 meetings that week, the 21st, and then we got into this trying to get everything scheduled for the ceremony we're going to have on the 21st, and it's gotten a little bit bigger than we started out, and so what I'm asking is that we reschedule the 21st regular meeting, which is a day meeting, and we tie it with the levy laying meeting on the 19th. The only thing we can't do is do it at 10 o'clock daytime because this courtroom is already scheduled for people in here. So met with the judge and this couldn't be changed. So trying to just have that one meeting, get our business done on the 21st, instead of the 21st, 19th at 6.
Well, instead at 6, can we have it at 4? Because we have the election.
That's
training.
right, yeah. Got election training. So
At 4 o'clock.
she told me that and I forgot.
Yeah,
Is that a Tuesday?
yes.
Okay.
So 4 o'clock. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, how much?
Second.
A motion second, change the 21st to the 19th and at 4 o'clock. Do both of them, lay the levy and the regular meeting. Oh, yes. Motion carries.
Okay, then we need to reschedule the May 5th meeting.
Yeah, I got a conflict on the 5th, and had down there the 3rd, but then I had another conflict today when I looked at that with the thing that EDA is sponsoring with the governor, bringing them in. So asking, I guess, to change that to May the 2nd, if it's possible. That's a Monday at 6.
So moved.
So it's not gonna be the 3rd as written?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Okay.
I had it down there when I did
Okay.
the agenda, but
I'll
that's
second
changed.
that. That's at 6 p.m., correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the request to change the job status of Jason Stanley from part-time telecommunicator to full-time probationary telecommunicator at the Lincoln E911 as requested by Alan Holder, Director.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to dismiss the duties of Samantha Aldridge as administrator to the estate of Sylvia Aldridge upon receiving accounting for this estate.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
And this should say to approve the transfer,
Yes.
not employment. I need a motion to approve the transfer of Darrell Baker as a full-time appraiser in the office of the assessor effective April the 1st, 2011.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
Is there a replacement control, animal control?
I think he's moving one of the deputies into that.
Yeah, we've had a discussion on that, but he hasn't given us anything yet.
I need a motion to approve the temporary part-time employment of E.J. Duty as the Lincoln E911 as assistant in the mapping department at a rate of pay of $9.25 per hour.
So moved. Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve a donation in the amount of $500 to the Ranger Elementary to purchase books for the students.
Can I touch on that real quick? I went to Ranger, I had a phone call from Lucy Fry, which is an elementary teacher, and at the school, the staff's trying to motivate the kids to read more and be more responsible, and they're partnering with a group to bring books to the school, and for every $1 that we could donate, this group is also going to give $1, so it's pretty well going to be a half price for the books. So if we can donate the $500, that would be enough money to buy every single child in the school a book. And I told her that I would have it added to
So, did we have a motion on that?
second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to adopt a resolution in support of Wayne County Commission and the Wayne County residents in their efforts of getting a lodge built at the Beach Fork State Park.
So moved.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
Next
Their
thing-
commission just contacted me the other day and wanted to know if we would join them in trying to help them. I assured them we would. Told me we would bring it up tonight, so.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is public comments, and Versi had called on Tuesday when we had a power outage and wanted on the agenda, and already had the agenda set and everything, so Versi, I've put you there under public comments. But I did get you on the agenda.
It is on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I couldn't get through and I assumed it was storm
Yeah,
related. So
we
I
had
sent
to close
Charles an
down.
email, right? Yeah. I appreciate you taking.
Well-
And this is, I had hoped Mr. Mostetler would stay. I had attended the PSD meeting last week on the Alcohol Water Project. And one of the things that was discussed was the reluctance of people to sign up and then getting the signatures. And I can well understand that, because I don't know, this probably a lot was most of you commissioners, but this project has 3 different numbers. This goes all the way back to, they were promised water from the Molly's branch, and that was spun off then. And it had 558 project number since 2000 and was a priority ranking. Well, it's now been resubmitted and it's under project number 1186. And my concern was going around, and the people want water. They desperately want water. They're very disillusioned. And I know we can get the signatures, but I said, like I asked them at the meeting, where is it going to be ranking? Because now with the 1186 number, it is not even on the priority ranking. And as we go around and talk to these people, is it going back to the priority ranking? And Mr. Watson from Thrasher said that would strictly be up to the county commission to put it back at a priority ranking. So I'm here to ask that you gentlemen, as the commission, put that back, because I believe everything's in place. The application's been submitted, and I don't know exactly what stage. That's up to you guys, but certainly if you're doing you had 2 sign-ups, I would think that everything is in order, and that's what I'm asking it to be placed back at a priority ranking.
Now, I don't know. I think our money speaks for where we stand. We've committed $200,000 to this project.
Well, it says
I don't know.
committed the 6,990, the report says.
Well, it's a major project. I am not sure what we're talking about here. I wish Mike was here too. I don't believe this commission has ever done anything about putting priorities on any water project. We just asked PSDs
Well,
to
that's what.
seek the funding, and we certainly serve as the banker for it, but, and the only money we ever have on the table is our coal severance money, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I could be corrected, but I don't think we've
Wait,
ever.
are you wanting this so people will give you their sign-on fees?
Well, yeah, because,
whatever?
yeah, unless it's back on ranking and we can
So you're
tell them
basically
that it's
saying
gonna
they-
be within, absolutely, because right now it's not on the listing at all, even as a project when you pull the priority rankings, because when it had the 558 number, it was Priestley
talking about
Ridge, it
from
was
the-
in line with all of those, and now it's not even on the list.
From the Water Development Authority?
Yeah, from the DHHR, any of those, it's not on as an active listing, and certainly the
But
county has.
Mercy, wasn't there monies from the settlement with Hobet or somebody?
That's a part, right, it lists all of the funding persons, and that.
Yeah, I've seen that,
Right
they're
there.
still short like $1 million, so I think, of having all they need, but they're trying to get it, but I know they got the 400,000, they got our 200,000, and they got the USDA money.
And then it's RUS money
Yeah,
and
so-
USDA and.
So you're saying that we somehow, or a previous
Per
commission?
Mr. Mostadler and Randy Watson, that the county has the power to put it back at a priority ranking.
Do you know
That's the
anything about
reason
that,
I'm here.
Gary?
What,
Oh, what's that? You heard Mr.
what
Watson
we
say, right?
started with was, Ron Gregory went to the West Virginia Job Development, or West Virginia Infrastructure Job Development
Right.
Council. And they was saying that the people never wanted the water. So we held a meeting at Woodville
Yeah.
and a meeting at Mud River to get sign up so we could take back to Charles and say, the people not only wants it, they're in desperate need of it. Is where we're at, and the Lincoln PSD that is our #1 priority, is getting water there, and what the coal company has given is for Mud River, we'll need several million to get to it, but the Route 3 project was the first
Well,
part.
you gotta
of it.
get there before you can get
water
down
to
here,
it.
yeah.
Gary, have you guys had a discussion at the board about how we need to make some movement to put you in a priority that would make it more
You heard
attractive?
Mr. Watson, you heard the same.
Thrasher Engineering said that last week.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why they do that, I don't know.
I could not answer that, we have to talk to Randy on, but as the.
Was the discussion as far as getting these people believing that they're going to have that water so they'll
Right,
sign
that
up
the county's
for
gonna
it?
put it back as a priority
Yes.
ranking, right?
I'd even had discussion with Thomas about trying to make this, him even go out there himself and go around and see if he could talk people into signing up, so.
I've talked to Gary and Mike and others. I said,
Right, until you can assure the people, until we've got something that listed as a number, because every ranking, every priority, every project has got a ranking. Right now, we're not even on
see,
that list.
and the projects that's ongoing or being completed in Lincoln County or completed in the recent past, none of those were on a priority list, I would imagine.
Oh,
We don't-
yeah, they were.
I mean, not by this commission, though. We just, as
Well,
Commissioner
we did have a
President.
countywide water plan,
Yeah.
which we set numbers of #1, and we based that upon need and how much water, where it might be potentially going and things like that. And, but I mean, I can see your point, and if, the only thing is, if the PSD's already said it's their #1 project, I mean, the only thing we could do is say, yeah, we agree with the PSD that we support their #1 project. I mean, that would be, the thing that we would do. I mean, which the PSD knows that. I mean, I would think. I mean, we are familiar with that project.
Which I think in terms of the amount of money that's been donated to a project, not that it's never enough, but I'm pretty sure that we've donated more to this project than the others in the county.
And they've already spent about 50,000 doing the flyover and the stuff Thrasher had, 100,000. Last time I was out, they spent.
Right, he submitted another bill.
Unusual, but I would certainly entertain a motion to support and concur with what the Lincoln PSD has already established as their #1 priority, and I would certainly support that.
Thank you.
The motion is second. All yes, motion carried.
Buffy, have you ever heard that when you've pursued water, that there needs to be a priority list for funding?
Bubby's is the Branson Midkiff chairman of the board.
They, most of the time the lending agencies, like if you got 2 or 3 programs, put in for bid, they'll usually give the one that's going to give you the most back, wherever you're getting your most customers from.
Well, I know the only thing I know we've been associated with is designating which ones we're going after small building and
Small cities
small
block
cities
grant, yeah.
block grants.
Yeah,
And
now
we
we do
do
have
those a
to
lot.
pick those. Because they just allow one per year, one per cycle, really.
I do plan on working with Gary McAllister, the board, and Mike Mosteller, and doing whatever I can in the area groundwork-wise, knock on doors. If people have questions, if I can't answer it, get their information and call them back and do whatever it takes to get the signatures necessary.
And what's important is you guys too. I mean, you know, they know you all, they live out there with you all, and if you all could do that, I think probably the board realizes that. It's different when somebody from a governmental entity asks you something than when your neighbor says, hey, this is what's best for all of us, can we do this? And you could go back now and say, you know, we've adopted this resolution in support of what the PSD is going to do over there, so.
I think Mike's going to work on possibly even some others in the area that are interested in going around, and I'll be going around with the people that are interested in having a county commissioner that could answer questions, because I noticed when I attended the meeting at Mud River Fire Department, there was some dissent and negative tension because there was confusion as to whether money had been appropriated in the past that had been used. For example, since I'm from Harts, they said that we had taken the money to Harts and everybody in Harts has water. That's not true. I mean, everybody in Harts doesn't have water. Everybody in the whole county needs water. And I'm willing to go back to the area and extend a hand and see to it that they realize that we're serious. I traveled with the commission president to Ray Hall's office trying to find more funding sources for this project.
But Mr. Watson was at the first meeting, probably after Thrasher got involved, probably 2 years ago. He did confirm to them that that project was funded by the USDA, and that's where a lot of that is coming from. Now, supposedly that money is sitting there, I don't know, but there was not a source at that time. The project was approved, but there was no source.
Yeah, the only thing I can think that would be keeping the water development people from putting it on a schedule is that the last time I looked at the finances for that project, it was short. I thought it was close to $1 million. It may have been 800 and something thousand. It was close to $1 million short. And they weren't sure which way they was going to try to get ARC, or they really thought, see, this is where they thought they were going to get money from the abandoned mine, and they got turned down from that, the PSD did. So I'm not sure where the budget came up short, but it did come up short. And of course, everybody depends on Michael Griffith to put the budgets together, and he does a super job and understands all the funding sources. So
I looked at the listing, I believe one day this week, and it says funding committed, so.
yeah. And if anything we can do, we'll do it, because that project, I guess, enough's been said, but you know, I think people got misrepresented by a previous manager, and that's caused a lot of issues, and that's we don't want to do that. That's why when Thomas and I had the conversation, he'd been to the firehouse meeting and told me about some of the issues. I said, well, maybe we need to get more personally involved and see if we can make sure that people don't get misrepresented, and we try to get this project done.
Yeah, it's been pulled off of so many contracts. I mean, it's been shuffled so many times, and
Well, I think you got to
erase the negatives.
Well, I think the board is committed to making this project happen. I really believe all three of them are. And that's one of the reasons when we put one particular board member, I won't mention his name, he lives in that area. We thought, well, let's put this board member on there because he lives there, he'll benefit from it. He won't let him move it. So I think that's, I mean, that was our thinking as a convention.
I know at the, Thomas, you came to the last wastewater meeting, and one of the things that some of the citizens there suggested was the fact that there's I think it's $100 sign-up fee, and not everybody has that $100, but maybe people in the community would be willing to help with that problem, and we could create some sort of a pool of money so that if I could only put $50 in, maybe there'd be some donations into that pool. I think that might be something we could continue talking about with folks.
And I have to say, you know, there was some negativity, but overall people were very friendly and supportive, and they wanted to work together, especially at the wastewater meeting. I mean, it's truly a group of people, a community that realizes a need is there, and they want to come together and help their neighbors. And I agree that, and one of the things they ask at the next wastewater meeting, or one in the future, if Mike Mosteller would be willing to come and talk to that group and then that group could then go talk to others. So
Well, the state.
But there were people at the meet, there were citizens there, but there were folks who said, no, I'll be glad to put in an extra $20 if it'll help somebody. Yeah, so.
And they were apologizing for the way their neighbors acted. They were remember they were saying that, you know, people are just emotional over this issue. It's nothing personal. There's somewhat of a divide between government and the communities because of misinformation. And when you want something to happen now, it's just so hard to understand why there's so much red tape to go through. Communication's key.
Is there anyone else in the audience that was not on the agenda that would like to speak at this time? We'll go over to commission concern. Charles Vance.
I called and had Judy, I had I've been talking to some people about 2 different water projects. I've already talked with Mr. Abshire about the 10-mile project, and they just wanted an update of it. Buddy, can you just go ahead and tell everybody what you told me as far as where we're at with that?
We're just falling short on some money which has been secured now, and the Public Service Commission has all the paperwork. And as soon as they submit that back to us, we're ready to put it out for bid. And I understand that they should have received a letter today confirming the money is in place. So we're hoping to hear something in the next few days about it.
Okay. And the other question, not to you, Bud, but I was going to direct it to the commission. I was asked about the West Fork project on the parts there, as far as the school, are they extended it down? I guess I call it West Fork, but I don't know if it's East Fork or West Fork.
Well, they call it a completely different thing. I'm trying to think what it is. That project is under construction. I think it's like a Logan PSD self-help, but it's moving, but how far it comes down, I'm not sure, but it does come into Piney and all that area, because it crosses the Lincoln line.
That was the person I was talking to, the families from Pine.
Okay, I think it covers that. Where, I just don't know exactly, but it starts with an M, I think. I kept seeing it listed as one of their projects, and I didn't know what they were talking about, so one day I finally asked Rick Roberts, where is this project? He said, well, that's at Head of Hearts up there, and it's what we call West Fork.
Is Rick still doing that work?
Yes, he can tell you exactly. I may even have a map in there. He brought me some information on when I told him I didn't understand it. So.
That's all.
Commissioner Raymond.
Okay, as Christy Scraggs indicated, from March the 19th through the 22nd, I attended the Secretary of State's election training. And the information that we were trained during that session, I think, was greatly beneficial for us to be able to more adequately follow through on procedures of purging and just election laws in general. And I think that we're better prepared now to make sure that the books are taken care of than any time in the last 20 years. And I think that Christy will do a fabulous job. Also, I attended the Duval Youth Basketball League banquet, which was held at the South Charleston Recreation Center. The event was held to really allow the kids from the Duval area that played basketball to go to the rec center and take advantage of the pool and the basketball gym. And during that event, they asked that I say a few words, and one of the things I did was commend the people from the Duval area, because recently there were some problems at the school, and the kids were exposed to roaches and some other problems at the school that the parents attended a school board meeting to address. And I told them that, you know, as you address these issues and you speak up for what's right, you hold public officials accountable. It teaches your kids that some things are worth standing up for, and hopefully molds them into responsible people that will one day grow up and hold elected officials and others responsible. Now, during that event, they did thank the commission by giving us a plaque, and they also gave us a photo of the students from the league, because what we had done, we gave a donation months ago to allow them to purchase uniforms for all the players. So they presented this to the commission. And they reminded me that I told them that we don't see this as just a donation, we see it as a partnership. And they said, well, we're really happy you see it that way, because we're ready to come back next year. On March the 28th, I attended a meeting hosted by the county's 3 Crime Watch organizations. The meeting provided an opportunity for the members of the Harts, West Hamlin, and the East Lincoln County Crime Watch to just come together and help each other to reinforce the mission of keeping Lincoln County safe. It's so hard when you volunteer and you feel like you're out there all alone. And by coming together, I see some guys here from the Crime Watch and ladies, and I think that was a beneficial day. And some of the questions they had was in regards to the community participation grant money that comes from the legislature and how that can be spent. I think you received the answers that you were looking for. On April the 6th, I attended the Corridor G EDA meeting in Logan. It's something that myself, KK Matthews, and Dwight Coburn serve on and represent Lincoln County. I met with teachers from Ranger, and that was in reference to the $500 they asked us to donate to help them buy books. Attended the Lincoln County Board of Education meeting last week. Really, I wanted to attend because it was a historic moment. For the first time in a decade, the local board was able to hire the next superintendent that would lead the system. And I'm very, very, very proud of the majority of the local board for choosing one of Lincoln County's own, Trish Lucas. I think that Trish is somebody that is well accomplished. She is a leader, and because of that decision, our school system is positioned to grow and prosper and allow the kids to have the best possible education into the future. I met with the Lincoln County Economic Development Authority. It was a planning session, and it was in reference to a candidates economic forum. The purpose was to figure out a time, place, and a format. And the economic forum would be an event that would be hosted by the Lincoln EDA, and we would invite every gubernatorial candidate to come to the event. And we decided at that time that the best thing to do would be incorporate youth. Let the children, or the students, if you will, lead that process. So we decided to have the event at Lincoln County High School in the auditorium, and also not only have it at the school, but allow the students from the student government to moderate and ask the questions. So we decided that from that meeting, we needed to have a meeting with the government representatives, the students, and also the sponsor, that Don Davis. We went to Lincoln County High School the next day. We met with the students. They were really excited about being able to play a role in a candidate's debate, well, forum. It's not a debate. Actually, the student body president enjoyed the idea of being able to moderate, because it's not every day that a student can tell the governor your time's up. So I'll read the invitation just so you guys will have a full understanding of what's going on. As a candidate for governor of the state of West Virginia, you are cordially invited to participate in the Candidates Economic Forum, the Youth Perspective. The Candidates Economic Forum, the Youth Perspective, is a discussion allowing each candidate the opportunity to share their ideas on how Lincoln County can advance economically and what they will do if elected governor to assist in this effort. This is not a debate. The forum is hosted by the Lincoln County EDA and will be moderated by a panel consisting of the president of the Lincoln County High School student body, along with 3 officers of the senior class. We are encouraging the students to tell us what concerns them the most from an economic standpoint, and in turn communicate those concerns to you, the candidate, through their questions. They are excited about the opportunity to be heard. And just the format is introduction of Lincoln County Commission President Charles McCann by Larry Stutler, Executive Director of the Lincoln EDA. Welcome introduction of all candidates. Introduction of the student panelists by President McCann. Student body President Cody Woodrum will thank the candidates for attending and briefly state the rules for the discussion. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening remark. President Cody Woodrum, along with, and these are the students that will be asking questions, Morgan Hoke, Austin Lucas, and Jamie Lucas. They will rotate questions. Depending on the number of candidates attending, they will be able to answer 1 to 2 questions each. And one of the things we decided after we decided to go with this format was we did not want them there as an EDA and come up with questions and say, tell the students that we're going to put a facade on, this is a youth-led group at the high school, but here's the questions you have to ask. So we are going to go back, meet with the students, and let them help us come up with the questions. Today I attended the Route 10 Coalition meeting with several representatives, and I attended a water turn-on luncheon at Naomi Martin's. Naomi was instrumental in helping get Route 3 water project. And during that luncheon, she provided us with a country meal of chicken and dumplings, mashed potatoes, and strawberry pie. So I'm looking forward to her next luncheon. There's two things I want to touch on. That's my report. But at the beginning of the meeting, I had said that we had made some motions that were not on the agenda, and I want to clear those up. And I did say that going forward from this point, I was confused. I should not have used the word confused. I should say and use the word I'm committed to making sure that we have everything on the agenda, and I would ask that the commission take serious adopting Robert's Rules of Order. I'm not sure we've ever done that in the past, and there's some procedures that we would have to follow a little differently than we do now. I know the president would still have leniency in being able to grant waivers, if you will. So I think that's something we can at least take under advisement and talk about.
Sounds good to me.
And
I don't know who'll be parliamentarian, but
the last thing I just would like to say is that, you know, at the national level, I hope and pray that our leaders in Washington will pass a budget that is reflective of the needs of the people of this country. And I hope that they do not pass a budget that sacrifices programs that help people, real people in places suffering, at the expense of tax breaks for the rich and tax breaks for corporations. With that, I'll finish.
Following right along with the things that I've been involved with, mostly a week ago, but a little bit even today. But starting on March 21st, they held a planning meeting just really talking about how much money do we sure have for the upper Big Creek water here on the Mud River that we just approved this evening, and it was determined that there was $50,000 available. And I took the responsibility to set up a meeting with Mayor Yu, which was scheduled for the 24th. And we did meet on the 24th at the mayor's office and went over the project and how they may be able to do it. And in that meeting was Cheryl Porter and Alvin Duvall, two of the people on his committee over there at the council. Also Joanne Cardwell, and we basically are in the process of letting them, we did have an engineer to design it and come up with Rick Roberts what need to be done. And so they're going to basically take care of dealing with that, and then we'll provide the money to help assist make it happen. Also, Thomas mentioned about the Crime Watch. We did, Judy and I had a get together to talk about how we was going to do that meeting on about March 23rd, and we did have the meeting at McCorkle and provide the food and did have a good turnout. And I concur with what Mr. Ramey says about the involvement of the Crime Watch. If you weren't involved and on the scene when we started the Crime Watch, you wouldn't appreciate the work that they have accomplished. It was really the lady that really brought to our attention and to the group was from Allen Creek. She's maybe involved now to some degree, but she doesn't attend the meetings. But it was her conviction, working with the sheriff in Lincoln County and the sheriff in Kanawha County, that we held our first meeting at the Allen Creek Firehouse and started talking about the Crime Watch. And I guess I'm just like most other people. When you start talking about something else, you sort of wonder, now, will this work? How long will it work? A little skeptical. But when you get committed people, then things change. And I think that's what I've seen, the commitment of people just giving their time because they believe in what they're doing. So we had a good meeting at McCorkle and very productive. Also, on the 24th, I did attend a meeting on Route 3. Naomi is the lady that kept coming to the commission meetings, and she is a lady, saying, help me get water, do what you can. I need water so bad. I've had 6 wells drilled, and you're just always just almost, I don't want to say begging, but I'm just pleading with the commission. Don't forget us. You know, it's like we heard from here on Mud River. It's an important issue, and you can't forget it. And anyway, she was just so thrilled that she did invite us up. Her and Mike Mosteller together had a little, we toasted fresh water, is what we did. And then we did get into the festivities of the good food. But it was just pleasing to see how happy she was. And what she would say to us is that, I hope that you get me this water, don't let us down. I'm getting elderly, I'm gonna die before you get water. And but you know, she was always just so kind, and it was hurtful that when we went to the house that day that her husband did pass away this year before the water really got to their house. And that first thing I thought of when I walked in is how she would come to the meetings and talk about it. And, you know, at least sitting here as commissioners, all of us, all 3 of us, never, you know, may not be able to say what people want to hear when it comes to water, but you got to remember that is our #1 goal that we every year we put water. We're going to work every way we can to help people get water. So I think it is a commitment. Part of being a county commission, we have a Region 2 Planning Development Council, and we hear reports here occasionally on water projects and other things. And I serve as chairperson of that committee at this particular time, and we held a meeting on the 25th of March, and you know, basically conducted our meeting, but it's made up of Wayne County, Cabell County, Mason County, Mingo, Logan, and Lincoln, plus the municipalities and towns in these counties. And we did have a good representation that day from Lincoln County with Mayor Gue. He is a person that takes his job serious. Also, Mr. Cope from Southwestern was there, and Larry Stutler from EDA. But basically, we had a piece of information that was shared with us. It's so important this day and time that we use the internet and I know Mr. Stutler took heed to it, to make sure that we convey the right message across the country, whatever it is that we got to offer, whether it be good people, or we have educated workforce, or we have good land, or whatever it may be. We need to try to figure that out and pinpoint that and get that put on some type of web page. And that we basically heard a report of how important that is, and how much it's helped, like the state of Mississippi and some other states that are similar to West Virginia when it comes to national rankings. But it has made a difference down that way, and a lot of discussion from other people about that. Also, we basically are trying to do whatever we can to get more people to get involved. And I know we talked about the thing about the Crime Watch, and I think that what we are seeing is that people in general are basically stepping up to the plate. And you know, Thomas talked about the school system, and you know, maybe we do give money away, but it's not really that. It's an investment in these young people, and I think that what we are seeing here as a commission, we just happen to be in, I guess, a time where we can do that to people, have some opportunity with the coal severance money, things to help a little bit. But if we can do that as a commission, I think it's very important that we continue to do that. And as we seen that night at that Crime Watch meeting, where Judy was there, Delicate Stairs was there, that people were just saying, what can we do? Tell us what we can do. We're willing to give our time. And so this commission has always helped do that. And we made the commitment that night that we would continue to provide gas cards and things. As we know, we're over $4 a gallon of gas, so we're going to have some help. And this commission needs to be thinking about how they might be able to further do that. The item that I'm fixing to talk about now is the Farmland Protection Board. This commission, a couple years ago, established the process to have a Farmland Protection Board. And that's part of the requirements in order to qualify. Three things, really. One is to generate local funds, and it's also, it gives you ability to possibly access federal money and state money. And the idea is to preserve farmland, and so that we could have money to, after you meet certain criteria, to purchase farmland, but people don't have to give it up. They still live there all their life. Their kids can live there, but it always has to be farmland. When we attended the last meeting, we've been having some discussion up to this, but it was pretty much decided at the last meeting that the issue of whether Lincoln County been situated with all the major portion of the minerals being owned by large corporations, that it appears that there may be question about whether we can really have much success in obtaining farmland under the Preservation Act. I think while my voice is resting, I'm going to call on Rick. He serves on that board, just to share a little bit of information about the seriousness and the concern we have.
Sure. One of the ways that the protection money works is if I want to donate an easement to my farm, which means perpetually it's going to be used as a farm, the Farmland Protection Board can purchase that easement, and one of the incentives to me as an owner would be that I could get a good tax write-off for 10 years or something like that, and that I could also be paid some money up front for that land. But the problem is, if the farmer does not own the mineral deposits, if the land is severed, so if he only owns the surface, the federal government won't put their money into the project. So we would have half as much money as we think we've got, because the feds won't match our money. The other problem is the feds won't let you take this tax deduction. So it's putting us in a bad position, because the estimate is 90% of the land in Lincoln County is severed. 90% of the land people don't own their minerals.
And the commission, part of the order that we entered into was that as parcels of land are sold, we will collect a percent of the money and put that in an account for this purpose. And so we've generated some $100 and some thousand that's in the bank that the Farmland Protection Board oversees. I attend the meeting because it says the commissioner must attend but doesn't vote, but just be there. So the dilemma came up last meeting was we're going to have to decide some direction. What are we going to do? No one wants to give up, because everybody that's there believes that we need to preserve farmland, but just trying to figure out how to do with it. And Rick and I talked a little bit after the meeting. It felt like it's at that point, although we had a couple meetings leading up to the meeting, and Ron Salmon has been advising us as an attorney how to, what the situation is, and trying to help us move through this thing. And felt like it's one of those issues that it's time that we talk about it and make sure that the public is aware of the situation and not sure where we're headed yet. But at least it's a concern that, and of course, Dr. Smith is chairperson of this group, and he's highly concerned too, but just still hoping that there's some way to work things out. But just thought we should share that information.
And our lawyer is looking into different options we could take, including maybe getting the federal government to make some changes in the law so that where there is this severed mineral thing, it wouldn't, the word that Ron uses is disenfranchise. It's going to disenfranchise all of Lincoln County, because we're not going to be able to participate in this federal program. So.
And we're the only county in the southern part that's really trying to do something.
There's a There's the State Farmland Protection Board Association is meeting the 19th of April in Petersburg, so I know, but the commission now is also going to meet then too, but I was thinking of going up and just sort of putting it on the table.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, we may need, because we might need their help too, we might need to, at a state level.
If we even try to get rules changed, sure.
We haven't spent any money yet. So all the commission money is still set.
Well, maybe. I think we paid an attorney a little bit. But
Well, that's true. We have paid an attorney.
not much, a little bit. But anyway, it is an issue. It's a good program, but it's not without some issues. On March the 30th, we had a meeting with Crystal Nimble, Bruce Hager, and other people from the United States Marines, Kim Cook, the director of the band, trying to get all the issues put together, how to work out this Rodney Breedlove Day that we declared that we're going to celebrate coming up here on the 21st. And we're trying to get everything done, and that is an impressive group of people, the class of 65. They are attuned to the issues, and they are really working hard, and they announced to us on that date that they wanted to change it from 11 to 11:30 on the 21st. I guess Governor Tomlin has decided he's going to be here, and we're glad that he will be. So we're going to have he and our main federal guy, Nick Grayhall, he's planning on being here. So we think we'll have a good event and a good turnout, I think. But that group is a good group to work with. Also on the 30th, they're going to have actually a ceremony at the Beech Grove Church naming the road Lance Corporal Rodney Breedlove Road. So we're getting signs made from DOH and 911, and we'll have those available out there that day. Also met with this group at particularly Jerry Cummings on trying to make some improvements to the shooting range, and we've set Saturday, April the 16th as a work day starting at 8, and we're basically going to put some new targets up, mostly for pistol shooting, and then do some improvements to parking areas. We've voted here tonight to do the kids fishing tournament again. We met, got that planned. That is scheduled for June the 4th, starting at 9. And we always have food, trophies, prizes, and basically with the focus, it's kids fishing day and keep them off of drugs, that type of thing. Hooked on Fishing, Not Drugs, and Crime Watch and the Sheridan Bath Club work with us, trying to get that all coordinated and the work done. And we've seen again tonight, we have been working with Jim Gaypart, and we do have the Bluegrass Gospel Festival, everything's set for June the 4th and 5th. And if you remember, we did increase the amount of money from $10,000 to $15,000, so we have a little bit higher level, if you will, of entertainment. And Jim is real happy, and he thinks we're going to have the best we've ever had. So we've had some good ones. So we'll see how that goes the weekend, first weekend of June. Also, did meet today on the Tri-River, Tri-County Coalition on Route 10, and basically heard from the engineer that the projects are all still moving. The project at West Hamlin, got 2 of them there. Both of those, one of them should happen this month in April, with the intersection of Route 3 and 10, and the turning lane over on the other side. And then Mayor Gu did attend the meeting, and he pointed out an issue that we need to look at yet, and that's where the Derry Road connects at the bridge at Route 10. All-time accidents there, and it maybe that something need to be done to help that. And sort of the consensus that we need more, maybe visibility of law enforcement, somebody there to, because of particularly the morning and evening seems to be the high traffic time, particularly school and workers. So, but other than that, we had a good meeting with the Route 10 group, and our next project, we're not going to meet again until May, but we're going to assume that all the projects we have on there are going to be done, and we're going to start looking for ways to come up with, see if there's any safety money to provide some passing lanes between Chapmansville, and that's our goal, Chapmansville to I-64 is what we set out, 59 miles of Route 10. And so our next goal is going to be to see if we can develop some passing lanes working with the safety committee with DOH. Had a call this week, and just pencil it in here. I'm sure we can figure out some way to help, but the Miller Cemetery up on Route 3 at Sweetland had a huge hit with the wind, and I drove up there yesterday and I got a call and well, better go look at it, and there's 3 huge trees, probably 3 foot diameter, that's uprooted and actually turned down a couple more, but I think there's 5 on the ground, and some of them laying around graves and things like that. And when I first got the call, I thought it was just brush and things, and I said, well, we can probably send up our community service people and help clean up. But, no, you don't understand. And so I said, well, what is it? And they started telling me about the trees, and I said, oh, I didn't understand that. So I said, well, I'll go up and look at it myself, and I did. And what I would like to try to do is, if the commission would agree, was to try to work with someone to see about helping because it is a public cemetery, it's not one of these private for money, and see if we could help them get somebody in there for a logging truck and one of the big lifts, and see if we could help them clean up that and pay somebody to help do that. So I think that's what we ought to try to help them get that cleaned up. That concludes my report. Appreciate it.
I want to add one thing on mine. I have had discussions, and it's a little early yet, so I don't really want everybody to get real excited about it, but there are a couple of companies that I've talked to in Huntington that do ATV sales and service and UTV sales and service, and one of them especially is very interested in coming into Lincoln County. So once I get a little more information on that, I'll get with Thomas is on the EDA board. I'll probably talk with him and Mr. McCann about it, but it looks real promising for one, and I think getting private sector jobs here is important. Plus, we're talking about making us a hub for that type of activity as far as recreation in the county, so I think it goes hand in hand. But as that progresses, I'll keep the commission up on that.
Any job's a good job. Okay, I have nothing else. Make note on the agenda, if you will, before we corrected the minutes earlier, that the April 19th is at 4 o'clock. That's the regular meeting plus lay the levy. And also the May 3rd should be May 2nd at 6 o'clock. Hearing nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Stand adjourned at